Hello and welcome to Travel Stories with Moush. So if you love the world around you and you love exploring different landscapes, cultures, cities and cuisines, then you are in the right place, because in every episode of the podcast, I will be talking to an incredible travel enthusiast who will take us on a fascinating journey around the world by sharing their travel stories. But before I hop on to the next episode, may I please request all of you out there to please subscribe to the podcast, because that is the only way we can continue doing what we are doing and bring you these incredible travel stories from around the globe. This episode is brought to you in collaboration with Royal Caribbean. Welcome to another episode of the podcast, everyone. What if someone told you that you can wake up in a new destination every day without ever packing your bags? Well, that's the beauty of cruising, and no one does it quite like Royal Caribbean. On this episode of the podcast, we are sailing on board Allure of the Seas, one of the most iconic ships in the world. And we're going to dive into the world of cruise travel with Mohamed Saeed, the Managing Director of Royal Caribbean Arabia. Mohamed, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast today. And first of all, thank you for hosting us on board Allure of the Allure of the Seas. But this is such a magnificent ship, and we were just talking yesterday and you were telling me that this is one of the oldest ships, right? And it went through kind of a process of renovation where you spent a lot of money.
Yeah, it's first of its class. It's one of the earliest ships, but then, and that's what kind of remarkable about it, that she's well kept. She's done a refurbishment process right now in the dry dock, closer to $150 million. And it's just brilliant how it still captures you, and you being first time on board as well, you're like, this is well intact, huge ship, one of our biggest. So this is the second largest ship in the world in its class.
Okay, I mean, fantastic. That's incredible. This is the second largest ship in the world, and I'm obviously mesmerized as a first time, cruising for the first time, and there's so much on the offing, and we'll get into that, through this episode of the podcast. But let's begin with the very first question on this episode today. Because you're a cruise expert, tell us which would be the most fascinating journey to go on a cruise in the world.
So me personally, I've experienced the northern itinerary, so the Norwegian Fjords, and hands down, it's one of the best experience I've ever had. Imagine you're on board the ship, and you're just cutting through these high cliffs and misty waterfalls. You're seeing like these tiny villages on the mountainside. It's like a portrait picture while you're just sailing through it, and you reach remote areas like Ålesund and Geiranger, where you get off and you do a brilliant rugged landscape. You see everything offshore, and then you come back on board and you're having a nice dinner and catching a show, especially on a Quantum class, because Quantum of the Seas has the North Star, which is like an observation capsule that actually lifts you up mechanically for like 300 feet above sea level. So imagine you see that, and you're seeing the glaciers 360-degree view.
Oh, wow.
So it's an experience.
Yeah.
And then so you're going into something that is raw and nature, and then back into a ship which is very technologically advanced. So
that is an amazing, incredible journey. But would you also say that that's really kind of the best way to go to the Norwegian Fjords?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. Now, if you're going to do that by land, flying or renting a car or driving through and packing, unpacking, and you have children, and you take your entire family, or a solo traveler, of course, you can do it. But then it's hectic.
Yeah, it is.
So well, your hotel is there. That's it's a floating hotel, and it's a mega entertainment city at sea. And you're building relationships with people on board, fellow travelers and the crew members, etc. So it's kind of your own village.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it the traditional way,
It's hectic.
You're kind of like you're on your own and
Yeah.
it's hectic and you're moving around.
Yeah.
So
No, especially I think when you have children and you still want to kind of enjoy all of this, nature around you, and especially the Norwegian fjords. I think that's really a fascinating journey you told us about, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what is it really about life at sea and life on a cruise that people love most about?
I honestly think that the moment people come on board, and things slows down in a good way.
Yeah.
All you got to think about is sunset.
Yeah.
That's your time, like sunset, sunrise,
Yeah.
and where are we going next? And then they're following an unplanned itinerary where we have endless adventures. You're coming on a ship, something like Allure, where you have all these activities like the ultimate abyss, or you want to go surf simulator on flow rider, or you want to play some tennis, or you want to go mini golfing. I want to grab a bite and I just want to chill and watch the ocean go by.
Yeah.
So you can do that. The time slows down and is brilliant. And then building a relationship with meeting other people, cocktail times and pre-cocktails and then dinners and then going to a show. You build a bond, you build a connection with other people, other travelers who have a common thing, which is going on a holiday and going on an adventure. Or you want a quiet time, you can do that, do it at a spa, or so many of these really quiet places that you find. Deck 8, I don't know, you see Central Park. You're between 20,000. You're between 20,000 trees and plants, and you just sit there and you can read your favorite book.
Yeah. No, the Deck 8 is actually spectacular. I just
brilliant.
went there yesterday, and you're really surrounded by, like, you are in a garden.
Yeah.
You are in a garden. There is a little cafe or a bar there if you want to get your drink and just sip. And like you just said, you can just sit, have your quiet time if you want to. You don't necessarily have to do all the crazy things that are in the offing on board, And also what I really liked is just the little deck outside your room, outside your stateroom. Even that is pleasant, early in the morning if you want to have your cup of tea. So you do have so much, which I am actually pleasantly surprised, But, of course, Royal Caribbean is known for its wow factor. There is, everybody thinks that, there's so much that Royal Caribbean has to offer. So talk to me about some of the experiences that you have on board, not necessarily on this particular ships, but all these crazy, amazing things that you have on board.
Well, Icon of the Seas. So Icon is now the largest ship in the world officially, and she's our newest ship. And Icon has this new activity, it's called Crown's Edge.
Okay.
So it's part rope course, part walkway course, and then it's a free fall.
Okay.
And you're on the edge of the ship. So you imagine now you're on deck 16, 17.
Not for the kind-hearted.
Correct. It's like, and you're just attached into a safety rod, and then you're doing this course, and then the floor drops, and you glide yourself literally outside of the ship, and you're coming back in. So if that's not scary enough, and you want something else, there is the Ultimate Abyss. That's 10 floor drop, and it's pretty cool because you go through this dark tube, and then all these music and lights inside, and then you'll end up probably screaming yourself out, or a grin, at least you'll love it.
Okay. But of course you talked about adventure now. I just went for one of the shows last evening, and it was spectacular. It really was like a Broadway show. It felt like that. I think everything that they presented in terms of creativity and even technology, the way they did it was really, really mesmerizing. What are the other things on board Allure which are really spectacular in terms of entertainment?
So we have 3 to 4 venues where each one brings an experience. So you have 3 to 4 different shows, and each one has its own different touch and feel and experience, and that's what's cool about it. It's not all just about musical or theater, etc. You don't want to do a show at all and you just want to lounge it.
You can do that
endless
as well.
Lounges everywhere.
Now, you just spoke about the Norwegian fjords, and you said, that is really a fascinating journey. But, if you had to pick one place or one destination that you think one must experience only via a cruise, which one would that be?
Definitely Alaska.
Okay.
The feel of traveling through the journey on the Inside Passage and making it all the way, passing through Canada, and then it starts in Seattle. And then it goes on to British Columbia, and then onwards to Genoa, and then so that Inside Passage, that journey on its own, going through the glaciers again and going through snow-capped peaks, So some of the seasons we have Quantum class ships, the same ones that in Norway. So they have the North Star capsule. So now again, 360 uninterrupted, you're on the observation capsule and you're seeing that. So that's an experience. And then you get off. The excursions is as wild as you being on the journey itself. You're taking dog sledding, and then you're going kayaking, and a ship can get you to hard to reach destinations.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Tracy Armford, that area. So that's not, you can't reach it by car as much as you will reach it quicker by ship. So that's cool.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is so fascinating that, it's all about these experiences which you don't talk about much in terms of cruises. I mean, you do, but primarily what I wanted to talk to you about is that most of the time people associate cruises with families, like, hey, I have family and I have kids and I can't kind of sort of hop on, hop off, or with the older generation. But that's slowly changing. I mean, there are adventurers who go on cruises, there are solo travelers. Talk to me about that. Like, how is that changing and evolving as far as cruise journeys are concerned?
Well, definitely, that's the biggest myth now. Cruise lines are now evolving into creating experiences available and catered for everybody, where like what we went through as well. Now we spoke about, if you're an adventure seeker, there we go. We have a lot of thrills that you can have on board, and but if you're just a chill seeker, that's also serves the same thing. So there's a lot of cruise lines where they're offering you that serene time, and even a combination like Royal Caribbean will offer you both. But there is a nice, beautiful, quiet areas here where you can enjoy yourself and chill, and whether you want to grab a drink or have a quick bite and just zone out, you can. And then and with the solo travelers as well, it's like they want the destinations rather than the ship. Then there's cruise lines and there's brands that offers that, where you want unique destinations, we'll get you there. This generation now is all about the experience. So the cruise lines are understanding this, and they're creating this creating that experience where you want to, what's important to you? Destination is important. We have cruise lines that provide you destinations. Culinary and food is important to you. There is cruise lines which up to a Michelin star service, as well as quality of food that will provide it on board. You want a combination of it all. Royal Caribbean serves it kind of in the best way possible. So.
Which is actually great to know, because it is changing, like you just said, travel has evolved over time, and people want different kinds of things out of travel now. It's not just about going to a place, experiences are so much more important. If you had to say which is the biggest attraction in onboard Allure, which one would you pick?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, see, that's very hard. It's like, that's very hard to pick, because it's just like, so I'll categorize it for you. So it's like, if I'm a thrill seeker, then it was perfect, because I'm going to zip line, I'm going to be on the flow rider, I'm going to do the flow rider surf simulator. I'm going to be on the ultimate abyss. I'm going to be at the water park. There's still 4 or 5 slides in the water park, and then so I'm going to do all that. But then foodies, book a chef's table, 16 people with an executive chef, and you're having a 3-hour course meal with one of the most exquisite locally sourced ingredients. And then for someone who enjoys music and entertainment,
you have your entertainment options.
Options.
So you really have a plethora of options over there, and you have so many cruises on Royal Caribbean. But particularly for this year, for 2025, which route of Royal Caribbean do you think is going to be the star for 2025?
I honestly think a lot of people should look into Asia. Asia serves you better as a greater value as well, and Asia actually has beautiful itineraries that starts from Japan and comes all the way through to Singapore. So where you're going to be experiencing multiple destinations, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam. So you have Japan, China, Korea sometimes. So imagine that if you have a lot of these destinations on your bucket list, or you want to visit them, you can visit them all in one journey.
In one journey, Now, while we were still talking about these different routes, I wanted to kind of talk to you very quickly about the route which takes you to Ishigaki and Okinawa. Because those destinations are kind of hidden gems, but also people are talking a lot about it. Tell us a little bit about those two routes.
So most of these routes that visit Japan starts from China.
Okay.
So either from Hong Kong or
Right.
it will be from Shanghai, from
Okay.
Busan port. So we cross the Chinese Sea and we go up to
Okay.
Japan, where you're exploring Japan south to north.
Oh,
Yeah.
fabulous.
So that's evolving, and now we have 2 ships in China, and we're hoping to have more.
okay. Now you spoke about the routes which are going to be the stars, which are going to gain popularity in the coming years in 2025 and beyond. Now there are underrated routes as well
Oh, yeah,
that
most
people
definitely.
don't talk about much,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people want to come to the Mediterranean. That's kind of the highlight as far
Yeah.
as cruises are concerned. Tell us, which is a very underrated cruise route which you think deserves much more attention in the travel world?
The most underrated, I would definitely say, is the Southern Caribbean. So that comes out of San Juan and Puerto Rico, and then so it takes you to really exquisite destinations. So we got Barbados, Aruba, being in San Juan, where it's actually more quiet, less commercial, and untouched beaches, rich of culture. The North American itineraries are brilliant, but they're busy. People do the usual, which is an East or Western Caribbean,
Yeah.
and they're very commercialized. So, and they're week on, week out, and on big ships. So we got 8 to 10,000 people going on those. But honestly, the underrated, I would say, the Southern Caribbean is. A lot of people haven't seen that yet. It's a unique destination. It's untouched.
So you spoke about many different routes, many different places and cruises. Let's talk about a hidden gem now. Which destination or place do you think is a hidden gem to be discovered through a cruise?
Well, like I said, I think I can go back to that underrated itinerary, like the Southern Caribbean. It's a smaller ship, so it's more intimate. Like I said, you start in San Juan, and then you visit Saint Lucia, you visit Aruba, Barbados. So that gives you an opportunity when going through these rainforests in the Dominica, you're hiking, going to untouched beaches. I would say that is definitely a hidden gem, and you can take it on a much intimate ship, and that takes you to a brilliant destination that is with less people.
You also have many of these ships which are very destination focused,
Correct.
right? So for people who really want to experience places without, hustling around much, you have those experiences as well.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have other brands that does this as well within the group, that offers you a destination focused itinerary. So they're more luxury brands, and so it provides you luxury on board and comfort on board, but it's not all about the hardwares and activities on board of the ship. Rather than reaching these unique destinations, it reaches more remote and destinations that allows you that you might not be able to reach because it's much smaller, intimate ports, so it's a smaller ships.
Yeah.
And then it does overnight stays. So when it does an overnight stays, it's your floating hotel. It's there. You come back to it, but then it gives you the opportunity to experience the destination itself more than your typical 10 hours. But with destination focused itineraries, you stay overnight.
So you stay overnight at the place,
at the port,
and
correct.
then you go in and out of
You're
the
in and
place. So
out,
that gives you ample time to really
no hotel.
discover.
That's your hotel. You can come in. You
Fabulous.
can come in anytime
Yeah.
from the port. You have access. You come back to the ship to go to, but then you get the experience. Now there's also tailor-made experiences that are already pre-booked. So you want to have an experience with the ship through the ShoreX program, or you're on your own. And you go
But
out.
that's
and
also
it's
fascinating because a lot of people don't know that. People just think that they go in and out of a place.
Yeah.
So you have these destination-focused cruises where you actually dock at a place
Correct.
and you go in and out. So the ship really becomes like your hotel.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's fabulous. Let's go back and talk a little bit about food now.
Yeah.
We just said that the ship becomes your hotel, and the
Yeah.
hotel comes with many restaurants.
Yeah.
And in Allure itself, you have so many different restaurants which I yet have to try.
Yeah.
But when you come to your brand as Royal Caribbean, I know you have a lot that you offer in terms of food. But talk to me about one immersive dining experience that you think is absolutely spectacular when it comes to Royal Caribbean.
There's a few.
Yeah.
Because the biggest two ship.
Okay.
I mean, the ship is too big. So, like I said, the chef's table, because that's available everywhere and every cruise and every category of class of ships. So they have that experience. But then also Wonderland. So Wonderland brings you art to life. It's kind of Alice in the Wonderland experience, and that is another unique experience that you come on board. People who enjoy sushi and teppanyaki entertainment, that's Uzumi, hands down, one of the best sushis I've had at sea. And also, it depends on where we are in the world.
Yeah.
So we take demographics into fact where Asia sailings and China sailings, we do full hot pot entertainment and stuff on board, and there's a whole experience for that. So if we were in the Middle East, for example, definitely we'll have some capsule and we'll have some good mandis on board and stuff like that.
So you're pretty much spoiled for choice, I would say.
They do that.
Completely spoiled for choice when you're on board a Royal Caribbean ship. Now, we're almost coming to the end of the podcast, and there's so many immersive experiences, not just with food, with entertainment, with adventure. There is a lot in the offing, and like you said, we'll need another episode to cover all of that.
Yeah.
But, coming to my final question, which I think is very important, a lot of people wonder, so which is kind of a dream itinerary for me? Which is that one bucket list cruise that I must definitely do? So what would you say is that one bucket list cruise that one should definitely do once in a while?
I think a lot of people will agree with me on this one, but that you have to go to the cruise. So you need to go to Antarctica.
Right.
And then, so people want to go to Antarctica, but they just like, so imagine doing it on a cruise.
Yeah.
Not specifically on expedition cruise.
Yeah.
Do it on a concept where Royal Caribbean group brands offer you, where you can do luxury at sea and or high tech at sea, and then you're going to Antarctica. It's like you're on another planet, right? So you're reaching that destination and you're on a ship. That journey itself, while you reach there, where that ice floating, seeing penguins and seeing animals at freedom, and that's the thing. It's like brings you back, and you think about, it's like, how small are we in this world? And then, but at the same, it's very spiritual. I think that when you go and you see Antarctica, and that is definitely, that's one of my I need to do. Is not even a bucket list anymore. It's like I am destined to plan this journey.
Yeah.
So it's a brilliant itinerary. We have more than a few brands within our group that offers it. Galapagos on the other side as well serves as a beautiful destination, but I would say definitely bucket list Antarctica.
Antarctica, yeah. And that is also kind of a journey you can only do by a cruise, right? Or there is no other way that you can experience the things you mentioned without being on a cruise. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I mean, this was such a fascinating journey. There is so much that needs to be explored through a cruise, which I just feel that people who go on a cruise, they know what is in the offering, but there are a lot of people out there who are still kind of intrigued, still intimidated, and I think don't know what is in the offering. And for me, being on board for the first time, I think it's just so spectacular. And you have, like you said, it's everything is right there. You want your destinations, you want your food, you want your entertainment, you want adventure, everything is pretty much there under this, in this one humongous ship that we can, which is the Allure of the Seas for now. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for giving us this amazing, tips and the amazing way to experience the world through cruises. Thank you very much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. And like I said, let's go. Everyone needs to experience cruise.
Yes, I completely agree. If everyone needs to experience a cruise, and you have so much. I mean, you have a 4-day itinerary, which we are doing, so you don't really need to plan so much. You don't need to book a hotel. You don't need to book your various other activities. It's all there. So you just need to get on board.
Get on board and draft your own experience on board, and that's it. And I'll tell you, almost 30% of people plan their next cruise right at that
while on a cruise. Thank you so much, Mohamed. Thank you.
Thank you, Moush.
Thank you everyone for tuning in today. I hope our conversations have fueled your wanderlust and inspired you to travel the world, through cruises this time. Please don't forget to hit on that subscribe button if you haven't already, and let us know what you thought of today's episode. Until the next time, safe travels and keep adventuring.